what you gonna do?
You can't fight the future.
Wrestling God.
ProWrestlingRadio.com presents.
Are you talking to me?
Pro Wrestling Radio live on live.
You think The Rock actually cares?
What is he doing here?
Oh, it's true.
I'm bringing everybody with me.
That's hard time.
To be the man. 6, 1. Can you feel it?
I hate your ever. Hold the damn phone.
That's how I roll.
You're sick sons of bitches. Come get some.
Because I've done all of that.
The king is back on his throne.
Excuse me.
And that's the bottom line because Stone Cold said so.
We are live, finally, after a few minutes of technical difficulties from the both of us. My name is Eric Arjulo, and I am here with my partner in crime, the birthday boy, Luke Hawx. Luke, welcome back to the show. I think it's been like 2.5, 3 weeks since we last been on the air, and really psyched to be back with you here. How was the birthday, my friend?
It was good, man. It was like a week-long celebration. I was out, getting everything I wanted, eating brownies and cakes. And
we are here, Luke. You and I, the recording is on. We've already heard about your birthday. We already heard about what I don't want to be doing on my birthday, which is what you were doing on yours. So let's get to the wrestling talk because there is a lot going on right now. Of course, the big news would have to be the Money in the Bank pay-per-view this weekend, right here in my hometown of Philly. Oh, wait a second. Somebody, this is, I was going to go into Money in the Bank, but let me wait on that. Somebody here sent me in a question on Twitter saying it'll be interesting to hear how Luke is going to explain how him and his son got slapped by Matt and Reby. You got slapped around by Matt and Reby Sky?
when did that happen?
I don't know. Somebody just sent me a tweet asking me to ask you about that.
Are they special?
I don't know. Maybe. They do let anybody on Twitter.
Yeah, it's probably a Matt fan.
Yeah, probably.
Matt, we know what happened. Matt hit my son. I almost killed Matt, and every guy in wrestling's pretty much hit Revy, so that's how the story goes.
Is that what you had for your birthday? You mentioned earlier.
No, I turned it down.
Oh.
That was worse. I don't know who's worse, Revy or Sonny.
We're gonna get to that. Let's go to Money in the Bank. Big pay-per-view this weekend right here in my hometown of Philadelphia. And, you have this really interesting scenario. Let's talk about the Raw Money in the Bank match, because to me, that's really the sell here. I know Cena and Henry is the main event. We'll talk about that. But let's talk about this Raw Money in the Bank match. You have an all-babyface Money in the Bank match right there on the Raw side anyway. You have Bryan, you have Randy Orton, you have Kane, you have Christian, you have Sheamus. I know I'm missing something. I'm just rolling these guys off the top of my head here. And it seems like the last couple of weeks, the WWE crowds are kind of confused because you got to remember with WWE crowds, there's a lot of kids out there and families. They're not paying attention to the internet. So they're kind of confused seeing all this good guy stuff. And I think the Daniel Bryan, this Daniel Bryan push, and we'll get to that, it's a little tarnished because people aren't sure whether to cheer or boo for him. What do you think of that, Luke? I mean, you promote Wildcat. You've been a wrestling fan for a long time. You've been a wrestler for a long time. Do you think it's a good thing when you mix up all those baby faces, or do you think you need at least one heel in there to just spice up the dynamic?
I mean, it'd be nice to have a heel in there, but at the same time, it's they're kind of doing something I don't remember that's been done in a long time. At least from a Survivor Series. Well, not even Survivor Series, because Survivor Series it was always a heel team versus a baby team, right?
Yeah.
It was never, even in the main event, it was never really two baby faces going against each other. So it's kind of I guess it's something to push the envelope up with a little bit. And all the guys that have in the match is hot, What's going to happen? I know this is a little far-fetched down the line, but the Wyatt family supposedly just took Kane out. How does that impact Kane for this weekend?
Yeah, it's funny you mention that because there's a blog that went up on my website today by the great Tom Clark, and Tom has a theory, and his theory is, or at least he's taking a shot in the dark at a prediction here, that Brock Lesnar could wind up replacing Kane in the match as a mystery replacement.
I don't see that happening, but
yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying the craziest stuff has happened, but I don't see it happening.
Yeah.
We already discussed this. I don't see Brock working any more than Brock has to work. Brock's not going to do anything. I don't think Brock wants to do. I don't think Brock would want to do that.
Yeah, you're not a Brock fan, are you?
I used to be a massive Brock fan. I just think he's turned into a lazy guy just there for a check. I don't think he loves the business. I think he's there just because it's either get paid there or I mean, what else is he going to do? Go play football?
I love you, but I disagree with you. I watch his matches at least this time around since he's been back, and I think he's really busted his ass pretty hard in every match since he's been back. I really do. I thought his match with Cena last year was maybe I'm not going to say the best, but one of the best matches I've ever seen Cena had. It was very strong style. It was very brutal. I think his matches with Triple H. I mean, you're kind of handicapped as it is when you're working with Triple H. But I think he's busted his ass pretty hard. I really do.
No, man, I don't see it. I just see a guy who just with no heart, no determination, just there getting a payday. That's all I see.
Yeah. Another prediction coming from the chat room is maybe Dolph Ziggler is a guy that gets screwed in the Alberto Del Rio match, and he winds up coming out and replacing Kane in the Money in the Bank match.
Yeah, I mean, you never know. That'd be a good thing too. I'd like to see Dolph do more. Of course, Dolph's on fire, man. So
yeah.
I don't really try and think about what they're gonna do because number one, the internet, of course, always hypes it, and goes, oh, this is gonna happen, this is gonna happen. They try and put the spoilers out and say this is the plans for this guy. I like to just watch and see what's gonna happen.
Yes.
And just I want to be surprised. And I told you that a long time ago. I hate the fact that nowadays you can't get away with anything, and then they have so many people complaining and saying, "Oh, well, the product's stale, it's boring. You know what's going to happen. This is, they never surprise us anymore." But those same people are going to be the same ones, taking a picture of the airport of the mystery opponent tonight and tweeting it, going, "Hey, I just seen Chris Jericho at the airport. He's the guy coming in to Raw tonight."
Yeah.
And it's like you just said. You're complaining about not being surprised, but you want to spoil it. That's how the internet is.
Yeah, it's a tough deal. It really is a tough deal to be, to be a wrestling fan, and you want to be surprised, but you also want to follow the internet because, you're such a fan. You want to get all the news, you want to get all the rumors, but it's so great when you're surprised. If you follow social media and you follow the reactions when there is a big surprise, like on Raw or not really SmackDown, but like on Raw, people go nuts because it just rarely happens. But at the same time, I think I think there are people out there that listen to these podcasts and stuff looking for predictions and picks, and not that you or I have the booking sheets, and no matter who we're picking, it's just our guess, but. I think it's a weird deal because you like to be a wrestling fan. It's like football, It's like I like football. I really don't care who's getting arrested or who's not paying their baby mama. But then subliminally, when you see these stories about a guy like Antonio Cromartie that's got like 8 kids or something, you start to think different. You start to think different of him than if you're watching him and. And just as a player, and like Randy Orton's a guy, you have TMZ that's reporting that he got divorced. And to me, I try and stay away from those stories on the camel clutch because it's not my business. And I like to give these guys their privacy. But you have these TMZs and Radar Onlines in the world, and now who's to say that with Randy Orton getting divorced, does it affect like some buddy watching? I don't know. It's a fine line you have to walk.
Yeah. I mean, I think if I was going to put a prediction on it, to go back to the prediction, I wouldn't say Kane would be out of the match. I would say, if anything, there'd be a reason for Kane to lose the match. He's still injured, so he couldn't compete 100% or something. Something crazy like that. Mm-hmm. Or maybe he gets jumped again on the pay-per-view by the Wyatt family.
I kind of lean towards that. I really see that happening on there. I think that. Again, I'm not breaking any stories here. This is just my prediction. But the way that I kind of see this playing out is maybe with Kane and Undertaker as a team at SummerSlam, teaming against the Wyatt family with somebody else.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
All the rumors earlier where it was going to be Kane and Undertaker against the Shield, but it doesn't really seem like they're going that way. But if you kind of look at it, just the timing of the Wyatts coming in and everything. But then it's a weird deal too because you have the Wyatts coming in and they're gonna, they're getting this big push, and you put them against Kane and Undertaker. Obviously, Taker's not putting those guys over at this point, and Kane could, but it's not a big deal. But you'd really expect Kane and Taker. So like, I don't even know who you put over in the match.
Right, and the Wyatt family. Isn't he supposed to be from Lafayette, Louisiana?
Well, the kid Bo Wyatt, that's Husky Harris, Mike Rotundo's kid.
Right.
Yeah, and and that was something that somebody wanted me to ask, throw out there a question to you during the show. Somebody in the chat room, and this is something that I feel strongly about, and I'd love to get your thoughts on it. And I think we're a little different than some other people, just being closer to the business. You especially more than me these days. Is does it bother you when you watch Raw and you see an angle like that and you see all these fans chanting Husky Harris at him? Where it's like, I know who you are. I'm smarter than you. Or is it kind of expected in this day and age?
I think it's expected, but it also pisses me off.
Yeah,
it's like now. I say it pisses me off, but not every instance. Like when they're chanting Albert during Lord Tensai matches, I totally get it because we know this guy's not Japanese. We know he was on WWE TV for years,
sure,
as Albert. Where Wyatt wasn't, he was barely on TV. He's kind of forgotten about, and he was there. So yeah, people know who he is, but he has a completely different look, a different character. He wasn't like a made superstar. I mean, he wasn't. He was only there.
Yeah.
Couldn't have been. I mean, more than 6 months, I would think. At least it didn't seem like that long to me. So, just like let the new character go along. It's what it is. But it's fans, dude. We can't stop it. They're gonna do what they want. They're gonna chant what they want. They're gonna like who they want. They're gonna boo who they want. We can't stop a thing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting because I was guilty of it. I was a little smart ass when I was like, I want to say 13 or 14. I used to read The Observer, and I remember sitting in the front row at a TV taping where Bret and Owen Hart were wrestling, and Bret did some interview where he said like Ric Flair was the shits or something like that. So so I was sitting there. It was probably with Rob Feinstein, and we were sitting there and saying Ric Flair, is Bret versus Owen. So we're saying Ric Flair sucks, and whatever else stupid that you could say when you're front row. And I remember Owen Hart kind of giving us a wink. he had Bret in a chin lock, and he just kind of gave us a wink. But I never really I never felt the need to like screw with anybody, to like to try and like mock a match or mock a wrestler. And I think it goes back to ECW where if there's one thing I hated about ECW, and I have such a big spot in my heart for ECW, and just really love my time there and just what it was all about. There's one thing I really hated was glorifying those fan chants, because all of a sudden the fans would kind of take over the match, and you could have two guys out there busting their ass hard. And for whatever reason, if the fans just, if 3 or 4 drunk fans don't like it and they start making these like silly chants, it takes the guys out of the match. I don't know. I just never really liked it when, the fans would kind of try and take over. And I always really hated it when the wrestling promotion, like an ECW or like a Ring of Honor, when they kind of glorify it, like they'll play on their commercials, fans like making chants and things like that.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, we're the ones, to quote Shane Douglas, who I can't stand, but, we're supposed to work them. They ain't supposed to work us, Yeah.
And it's just always, that was always something that bothered me about it. Even when I was there about ECW, probably because, like, I knew a lot of those guys in the back, and I knew how hard they worked, and you go out there, and, they look like fools. And it's not because they don't know how to work, I mean, everybody back then knew how to work in some way, shape, or form, but for whatever reason, you have like eight drunk fans yelling, flyers, and it's just, very disrespectful.
I mean, it's the same thing as if they're chanting boring to some guys they don't know, and these guys are out there busting their ass.
Right.
And the Philly crowds are infamous for it.
Yeah.
You go out there on a well-known show, and you put out there a couple guys that aren't known or new guys or from a different area. They eat them up just to see what these guys are going to do. They want you to fall into that trap. They want you to pay them attention. Don't ever pay them attention. You just keep doing what you're doing,
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. So, yeah, I don't know. I heard the Husky Harris chants, and I wanted to bring it up to you, and then somebody in the chat room brought it up. So I just thought, has that ever happened to you? Now I know, in Pro Wrestling Unplugged, I remember throwing a couple of fun chants your way when I was sitting there watching your match from the stage area. But other than, some of your friends ribbing you, has it ever happened to you where you're out there and you just kind of like thinking like, what the F?
Yeah, dude, I always get it. It's like I'll be out there and they'll start going, you are hot, or you are rich. And like, I'm supposed to no-sell it because I'm wrestling. I don't want them to know I'm rich and hot and, or you got a big schlong. And then all of a sudden these girls are attacking me after the show. It's aggravating. I just want to go out there and wrestle my match and be a bad guy and go home,
Yeah, I never got those chants.
You never got this chance?
I know. Usually they just told me to shut up or get the hell out of there. I got a lot of Joey Styles chants, which was really stupid when you think about it because we look nothing alike. There's no.
Speaking of Joey Styles, I was cruising around on Twitter. What is the beef between Joey Styles and Jamie Dundee?
Joey Styles and Jamie Dundee? I had no idea that there was a beef.
Jamie Dundee's old Twitter. Like, it's his Twitter, but, like, he hasn't posted in a while. I just came across it, so I looked it up to see what it is. And he's just dogging Joey Styles in every tweet.
Really?
I mean, yeah. Like, Joey Styles, I never suck cock to get a job like you and this and that. Like, I mean, calling him out, saying, I never sucker punch nobody. Like, I can never see Joey Styles sucker punch.
Oh, well, he sucker punched JBL. There is a story behind that.
Wait, Joey Styles sucker punched JBL?
Yes, that's a famous story. You never heard this one?
I've never heard this story in my life.
JBL, allegedly, JBL used to pick on him something fierce. I won't say the word bully since he slapped the hell out of the Blue Meanie when he accused JBL of being a bully, and I would never want to get slapped around by JBL. But he was accused of just picking on Joey Styles relentlessly, and then one day Joey Styles came up behind him and clocked him.
Really?
Yeah, that's a true story.
Dude, I had no idea.
Yeah, some Bryan in the chat room says his respect for Joey Styles just shot up, if that's even possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, true story.
Damn, I have to look. Yeah, so if you look up Jamie Dundee's Twitter, though, like the whole time he's just dogging Joey Styles.
I once drove Jamie Dundee.
How was that?
It was interesting. It was an ECW, and he had finished his match in the middle of the card. And Paul pulled me aside, Paul Heyman, and he said, "Eric, can you give Jamie a ride to the hotel?" So I said, "Sure." And I drove to the hotel. I mean, it was cool as hell. I mean, he told like all kinds of funny stories and stuff, and he's yelling
a riot, dude.
Yeah, he's yelling out the window, trying to pick up chicks and stuff. He was a funny dude. I liked it. I thought it was a fun trip.
Yeah, he's a nut job, but he's hilarious.
Yeah. I'm kind of torn on where to go. All right, let me go this way, and then we'll go the other way in a second. All right, the n.W.o, Luke, the New World Order. Before you donned the tights and laced up the boots and got in the ring, you were watching the n.W.o at home like I was, and that was 17 years ago. You want to feel old? It was 17 years ago. This past weekend when they pulled the big angle with Hogan turning heel at Bash at the Beach. And looking back at that now, you were a big fan back then. What do you remember about watching it and feeling and just being a fan at that time?
It was crazy.
Yeah. I
hated it. I wasn't a fan of n.W.o. Let's see. I was the typical hated the heels. Liked the baby faces for the most part. I wouldn't say everyone, but the typical heels I hated.
Yeah.
So some of them I like. You like the Steve Austins, and you like who else? Like in that era, who was the good heels in that era? That the four horsemen were kind of tweeners, I guess, at that point. The Arn Andersons and the Flairs. They weren't really heels no more because they just got that. They got that superstar pop. I wasn't like a fan of Sting or anything, but I used to watch WCW, and one guy who there's two guys back then I couldn't stand, and it was Jerry Lawler and X-Pac.
Okay.
And I never told this story on the air. I never told this to anybody. I haven't even told the Pac, who I'm really good friends with.
Okay.
So we were at the New Orleans Superdome, and I think Pac was feuding with Eddie Guerrero or starting something. It was like right when he got in n.W.o, somewhere around there. And they were leading up to a ladder match. It was like a nitro. Well, Pac goes on the other side of the arena. They set up a ladder, and while Guerrero's wrestling. And, of course, a bunch of fans run over there. I'm the first one over there. and I grab a piece of paper, I ball it up, and he's literally like 3 feet from me. You know, just like right outside of arm's distance.
Yeah.
I thumb the paper and hit him right in his face. So he looks at me, grabs his crotch, you know, and like shakes his dick at me. And then next thing you know, what happened? Like the camera, it's like a Monday Nitro, so I think it was Nitro, but the camera's going back and forth on Pac and then going back into the ring, like with Guerrero, whoever he's wrestling, and Pac starts getting down from the ladder. Well, when he went to go down, I grabbed his jacket and yanked him off the ladder, and he kind of fell into the barricade. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And then security shoved me down on my ass.
Did you get thrown out?
No, it was too big of a crowd. Like I got shoved down, and I fell down and kind of got away. But I never even told Sean that story. It's a funny story though. Like I have to ask him if he remembers it one day. If you remember that time when that guy pulled you off the ladder in New Orleans on Nitro? Yeah, that was me.
Wow. So as far as Hogan goes, you know, I mean, you and I, you know, we grew up in different eras, so. I have more of a soft spot for Hulk Hogan than you do because, I mean, I grew up in Hulkamania. I was a kid then. I used to go to the shows, and I was there for Hogan's first title defense in Philly and all that stuff. So what did you think when Hogan turned heel? Was that something, because you said you liked the heels. Did you like Hogan now that he was a heel? Did you still hate Hogan?
No, I was pissed. I was pissed because that's another thing I wanted to bring up is I wanted to jump the rail, and there was 2 people at this point. Like I was like, if WWE comes, I'm jumping a rail, and I'm beating up Jerry Lawler. And I was like, if WCW comes, I'm jumping a rail, and I'm beating up Hulk Hogan.
Wow.
Okay? Now I would have probably got my ass handed to me. I was this little scrawny kid.
Yeah.
The referees would have probably whooped my ass. But Hogan, you know, it was Hogan Kane. They did the whole thing, and I'm thinking, I went with one of my friend Jesse Hartle. He's a blind guy, and we went to high school together, middle school, and he was my best friend at the time. And he was the captain of the wrestling team. He was an awesome amateur wrestler, and but he was you know blind, but he was a massive wrestling fan. And Jesse begged me not to jump the railing because he would have been by himself, you know, in that big ass crowd.
Yeah.
He went to the show. That's the only reason I didn't do it. Thank God I didn't do it, but because I would have went to jail and everything else. Who knows? But you know, when you're a fan, dude, I loved it. I wanted to get it, you know, and I was pissed at Hogan. So
yeah,
I was like,
yeah, I don't know. It was, if you really look back on it, and you look back at angles. I mean, you know, you've seen hundreds, if not thousands, of them from the day you first started watching wrestling to, you know, through yesterday. And you look back at angles that had real money impact. I mean, as a promoter, you know about an angle that has money impact. As a wrestler, you know, as an angle that has money impact. And, I mean, for me, I look at angles, and I could think of maybe only 3 or 4 other angles that I've ever experienced as a wrestling fan watching that had as much money impact as that angle. I mean, it's got to be considered up there with, like, the top 3 angles of all time. Maybe Hogan, you know, dropping the leg on Iron Sheik and returning to WWF, Stone Cold, and Mike Tyson, and the n.W.o.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to add Hakeem, the African Dream, up there too when he changed to that.
Oh, come on now.
That was pretty good.
Oh, come on now. You must still be partying from your birthday.
Yeah, you don't think that was money?
I thought it was great, but it didn't really draw any money. I thought you know what? I didn't think it was great because you know what? I'm one of the few guys that I love the one-man gang. I was a huge one-man gang fan. That dude was awesome back in the day. I mean, now I watch his matches on YouTube, and I didn't even know what I was thinking. But as a kid, you know, just seeing the dude with the mohawk and the chains and everything, like, I loved him, man. I was a big one-man. I was stoked when he came to the WWF. I was stoked when he came because I thought he and Hogan would have some good matches and stuff. I was into the gang.
Yeah, no, I'm just joking. But they had some good angles. I mean, dude, I think one of the most happiest times I ever was in wrestling for me was when Ultimate Warrior returned, when Hogan was fighting Sid.
Okay. That
night, and you know, and Warrior ran out at the end.
Yeah.
I went bananas.
Wow.
So it's just because I was a massive Warrior fan.
Yeah.
Like, I was a Hogan fan, but you know, like I wasn't like a massive Hulk Hogan fan.
Yeah.
I was a Warrior fan.
Mm.
So, you know, and the Warrior would be there, and then he'd disappear for a while, and then he'd come back, and you know how that thing went. But
oh yeah.
But so when he was gone for a while at that point, and when Warrior came back, man, I hit the roof.
That's awesome. That's
but
awesome.
Then he started throwing up from them spells and stuff like that, and just wasn't the same.
That's some crazy stuff. All right, here's a story that Brett in the chat room just alerted me to, and it could be a big one, especially for you because you live in New Orleans and WrestleMania is in your backyard. There was an interview with Stone Cold Steve Austin today where he said that he's healthy enough if the stars align to wrestle on WrestleMania 30. What do you think about Austin wrestling at WrestleMania 30? Is if he does, is Punk the natural matchup? And here's one I'll throw at you. Did WWE screw things up by turning Punk babyface now and rather than keeping him heel in case Austin did come back?
Well, they can always turn it back.
Well, yeah, but if he would have had the momentum going from heel for 2 years and have Austin come in and kick his ass, I think that would have been huge.
No, it would definitely be huge, but I think he can get it back just as quick. I think Punk's that good. I think if Punk was to come out and cut a promo and just call out Steve Austin, I mean, dude, that's how good Punk is. And not a lot of people can pull that off.
Yeah.
Punk can go out there this Monday night and cut a promo and say, hey, and just bash Austin. It's kind of the same way that Cena did Rock.
Right.
Say, you left the biz, you did this, blah, blah, blah. Of course the fans are going to get behind Austin and want to see him come back, that can easily be done, and it can easily be a top match.
Yeah, definitely. I'm excited. I mean, I don't know about you, but I think that there's definitely a void with Steve Austin missing on WWE TV.
Without a doubt. I think he has a lot to offer. I think he should still. I don't understand why he's not used more.
I don't either. It's a weird thing because he's out there doing these podcasts, which are phenomenal. I don't know if you've heard them, but they're tremendous. I mean, he interviews guys like Kurt Angle and Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart, and you wouldn't believe it, but the guy's one of the best interviews I ever heard. He's
smart. He loves the business.
Yes.
He knows the business. And that's a big key right there.
Yes, so, me too. And he's out there. He's obviously not busy, and yet WWE just kind of lets him do their thing. I don't know if they don't want to pay him. I don't know what it is, but there's no reason that he can't be on their TV like once every 6 weeks, once every 2 months or something, just to do something.
Dude, if Brock can do it, Austin can do it. I think Austin's a bigger draw than Brock is.
Oh yeah, without a doubt, definitely. I think Austin would be a bigger draw than Rock if it was Austin and Cena.
I agree 100%. So, but maybe the numbers don't add up. Maybe who knows what it is? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard for the last couple of years that Austin has just always been gun shy because he doesn't want it to tarnish his legacy. Because he's always had such great matches, and here he is coming back years later, with injuries that he sustained, that he's not certain that he wants to take a chance at tarnishing his legacy. And I got to give him a lot of respect because I'm sure if he wanted to wrestle on WrestleMania tomorrow, they take him.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And before it was supposedly always the injury thing. That's what I always heard. I guess that, or at least the reason for it. Supposedly he was too banged up to do it, and he didn't want to take a chance, and this and that. But and I don't know. I don't have Austin's body, so I don't know how exactly he's feeling. But
I wish I had his money.
Yeah, I wish I had his money too. I can guarantee you. And you say he's not busy. Oh, the dude's busy. I mean, he's doing a lot of stuff. He's got these TV shows. He's probably doing interview after interview. He's promoting his stuff, and he's filming. He's filming a lot of movies. Even though they're not like major blockbusters like The Rock has, he's still filming movies, and they're going to DVD, and he's still making a ton of money on doing that, and putting a lot of time and effort into that. So the guys probably hasn't slowed down a bit. Yeah,
it's probably a poor choice of words on my part. I guess what I mean is, he has an hour every week to do a podcast. Sometimes he does 2 podcasts a week. So,
right.
It's like, can you get him to even cut a tape promo to put on Raw? I'm sure you could, but for whatever reason, it's just not happening.
The thing is, they just don't want to do it. And, obviously he misses the business, or else he wouldn't be doing a podcast.
Yeah, definitely.
It's in his blood. I don't see The Rock doing any podcasts. I don't see The Rock talking about the business,
Yeah, I don't either. Although I think it would be fascinating because, The Rock, he's got a longer, he's got more time in the business if you go back to him traveling with his dad, and seeing his grandfather. I mean, I think him doing a podcast would be fascinating.
Maybe. I'm not a Rock fan, man. I never really been. Is the guy talented? Is he money? Yeah, but I I just never really got into The Rock. I respect The Rock. He's a super nice guy. He's really cool to work with and cool to talk to. But as far as just a Rock wrestling fan, and I never got into it ever. It was more of a childish thing to me. Like his promo was like where Austin was that real, rugged. Like when Austin said he was going to kick your ass, you believed he was going to kick your ass. And when Rock said something, I took it more of a cartoon. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
You know what I really liked was when The Rock did that brief heel run where he was like Hollywood Rock. Where he with the helicopters and everything.
Yes. Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, I really like that a lot. I think that era, and it was a pretty short one. I think that was like one of the best heel runs that I've ever seen. I mean, he was just phenomenal during that run.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, I like that. So, another road I want to go down here, and I want to ask you now because, there's so much on the plate, and I don't want to get to the end of the show and say, oh, Luke, we're out of time. I'll ask you next week. I want to ask you right now. There is a report out there. It's not a rumor. It's happening. XPW, your old stomping grounds, they're coming back. They are coming back.
I've been hearing that for like the last 2 years.
Well, apparently they have a show booked. They have talent booked. They have this tournament booked. What do you think? Are we going to see Luke Hawx back in XPW?
Yeah, you'll see me in XPW. Hold your breath. So, I think it's retarded. I mean, who the hell is he going to use? I've heard a few names, and I won't say any because I don't know for sure. So I'm not going to say these guys' names if they're not on the show. You know, I don't want to throw these guys underneath the bus. All I can say is the guy's an idiot. So anybody wanting to work for this guy. For what? And then the one thing I also heard is that he's signing them to exclusive contracts where they can't wrestle anywhere else.
Really?
Yeah, but for no money.
Huh.
So what dumbass would sign some exclusive contract? I mean, they'll do it. There's a ton of dumbasses.
There's a dumbass out there that'll do it.
Yeah, that are gonna do it and go, oh, I'm wrestling for XPW. But if I wish he'd ask me so I could spit in his face.
Huh. Well, apparently it's October 31st, which is weird. Like, I don't know why they're doing it on Halloween. I hate that. I hate when there's like a concert coming around here on October 31st. I'd love to see, but I never go because I don't want to miss my baby girl going out trick or treating. I hate that those Halloween events.
Right. Yeah, that's stupid, man. I think I don't even know if the guy's got money anymore. Obviously, he must have some money. I don't know. Well, I think people go. I think the XPW core crowd. If there's one left, which there probably is, they'll go. But, dude, it kind of fires me up a little bit because I'm just like, it's one of the things where how can this guy even be allowed to run shows? The guy's a moron.
Yeah.
But there's nobody who can stop him from running shows. And I don't even know how he can use XPW name because Big Vision owned the name. They bought the rights to it.
So isn't Kevin Kleinrock Big Vision?
He doesn't work for Big Vision anymore. It's Houston Curtis, the guy who owns it.
Oh,
still.
okay.
But Kevin works for this anime company, Neon Alley.
Okay.
So, so Kevin has no ties with him. Kevin has no ties with Rob or anything. Kevin won't be involved with XPW. Nobody that I talked to, I joked with Joey Chaos. I tweeted him and I was like, or Facebooked. I said, somebody's like, oh, Luke, XPW's coming back. And I said, oh, you better let Chaos know so he can go claim his TV title again.
Whatever happened to him, man? Because, it seemed like he had a good look, good talent.
Just, he's still grinding, man. Chaos is doing pretty well. He's got a really good school out in L.A. He runs some shows out there, and, he's got a ton of good students. Watch some of his stuff. Sometimes I check out some of his stuff. He tweets a lot of stuff. His school's called Santino Brothers Wrestling Academy. So, if there's anybody on the West Coast listening or checking this podcast out and you're looking to train, and you're on the West Coast, definitely check out Santino Brothers and Joey. I'll give him that. He's a hard worker. He's smart when it comes to training. I used to train with Joey a lot and work out with Joey a lot. So, he's not going to pussyfoot around and, baby you. He's going to beat your ass and, make you want to stay in the business or quit the business.
Yeah. Huh. Interesting stuff. You know what I used to love about Chaos, and I don't understand how he didn't cut his stomach up. I used to love how he would wrestle with the TV title. I was just think that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I used to think when he would do that leg drop off the top rope, that one of these days the belt was just going to go cut through right through his stomach.
Yeah. Well, he was made of steel back then. I don't know if you knew this or not.
I didn't know. I thought it was a lot of water.
Yeah. Steel on the outside, water on the inside. Yeah. So. It probably wouldn't affect him. But he's trimmed up nowadays. He looks good. He's lean. He's got long hair now. He paints his face completely kind of like a skeleton. He's got a whole different look, man. You wouldn't even notice him if you seen him.
What about TNA? This past week, there were a couple roster cuts on there. Did I lose you? Are you still there?
I'm here. You got me?
Okay, yeah, I'm here. TNA, they had some roster cuts this week. Some of the people cut. Joey Ryan was cut. Do you know Joey?
I know Joey very well.
Okay, so Joey Ryan was cut. What's her name? Madison Rayne. I don't know if she was cut, but she's just not coming back. She didn't resign. There was another girl there that didn't resign her contract. What do you think? You feel sorry for these guys, or you like, or what are you thinking about these cuts?
I wouldn't say feel sorry, but I mean it's kind of BS. Joey Ryan wasn't there that long. I know they fired like Crimson. They fired Christian York.
Christian York. Yeah, he was another one.
Yeah, it seems like it was all the not tough enough. What do you call it?
The gut check.
The gut check guys.
Yeah. Oh, and Crimson. Matt Morgan asked for his release.
Yeah.
Do you like Matt Morgan? I think he's got a good look, but like I just never really. I don't know.
He's missing something.
Yes.
And the thing about him, I was talking about this the other day with somebody, which is funny. And I say this with no homo. Matt Morgan has no ass, so the way he wears those trunks, I always thought looks funny because it doesn't feel as big. Like he's this big old jacked up guy, and he's kind of got like an inverted ass.
Yeah.
So it just looks like sticks, and then a big old back.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, there got to be a different pair of tights that can complement his body shape a little better.
I don't know. You're on your own with this one. I've never checked out Matt Morgan's ass. You're on your own, partner.
Hey, I'm not saying I'm checking out his ass. I'm just saying the way his tights look.
Right.
He's got a weird build to him because he's so tall and he's got these long legs and like he has no ass definition, no bubble there, no nothing. So it just looks like a big ass back and some sticks.
Wow.
So I think like some trunks might do him better than some long trunks might do him better than, or maybe at least the shorts. Like that's one thing I always thought about Matt. I was like, man, why does he wear those just the regular tights? I'm like I don't know.
Yeah. Something I want to talk to you about, and you and I talked about.
You don't want to talk about this subject too much.
I don't really. I mean, it's like I don't really watch a lot of TNA, and I don't really watch a lot of Matt Morgan. I just know that when I've seen him, he's got a real impressive physique, and but there's just something missing there.
His ass is missing.
I guess that's what it is. Is that what you look for in Wildcat when somebody comes in? You take a look at their ass.
Check out their ass first to see what kind of ass they got.
So, something I want to talk about, I was thinking of you this week because I was watching this interview with Sting, and he was talking about what it takes to be a breakout superstar in TNA. And I'm just going to summarize what he said. But no, this goes back to what you and I talked about the first time we did the show here. And he said the fans can see through the BS of somebody that doesn't put everything into being a wrestler. Guys that don't go to the gym. Guys that don't spend time putting a look together. Guys that don't spend time getting the right pair of tights. Guys that go in the ring and kind of half-ass it. And and he said that that fans can see through that, and at the same point, fans can also see when a guy really is putting it all together. When a guy really is working hard. When a guy really has crafted and developed that look. And it kind of sounded to me, and I don't think it was intentionally something he said, but he kind of sounded to me that he was pointing some fingers to some people in TNA that weren't working, that didn't get over, and just saying, hey, it's time for some of you guys to look in the mirror.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to know who he's talking about.
Yeah, me too. I mean, but he was just making a general statement, but I thought it was pretty interesting because you and I talked about that a couple weeks ago.
Right. Yeah, like I said, I would love to know. I would love to know who he's talking about because I think they got a hell of a. We talked about this. I think TNA has a lot of talented guys, but they all choose to put Sting on TV.
Yeah. Well, something else I want to ask you about is, I'm jumping around here because I have all these things. We haven't talked in like 3 weeks, so I have all these things that are popping into my head that I want to make sure I get out there before we end the show here. And plus, we got to get to some plugs in a few minutes anyway. I was listening to an interview today with Jim Cornette. And as you can see, I prepare well for the show. I'm listening to interviews all the time, watching these videos. But I was listening to an interview with Jim Cornette, and it was an interview that Mike Johnson over at PW Insider did with him. And he didn't really do the interview. Cornette just kind of talked for an hour, and Mike asked like 3 questions. And and Cornette started talking about why, what's the best way I could put it? Why a lot of the Ring of Honor fans didn't, were bashing him. I don't know if you know, but a lot of Ring of Honor fans were bashing Cornette for his booking, right before he left, and a couple months before that, and right. I didn't like it either. I don't watch Ring of Honor, but I would read about it, and I mean, it just didn't sound like it was anything that would excite me. And Cornette kind of blamed the fans for Ring of Honor not getting over. And he said that when they signed that deal to go on Sinclair Broadcasting, that they needed to slow down the product, and instead of having these hotshot angles every week, they needed to slow it down and reintroduce all the wrestlers and all the characters to this new audience out there. And the way that he compared it, he said it would be like showing this new audience Star Wars in the middle of Star Wars without knowing the background and watching the beginning of the movie. And I thought it was kind of interesting and a little, I don't want to say gutless, but a little misguided, I guess would be a better word, to blame fans for your booking not getting over. I don't know. It just sounded kind of weird to me that it's the fans' fault for not liking my booking because my booking's great and everybody's wrong. And for you not to like it, F you.
Yeah, I mean, I think he kind of has a point with the whole reintroducing them. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
If you're on TV and you just get this new TV market and people are starting to watch, but at the same time, you got to think about it is people usually don't watch it as soon as you get on anyway. People have to find out about it.
Exactly. And these TV shows are on at like 12 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the morning anyway. It's not like these guys were on at 8 o'clock, on ESPN.
Right. So they gotta. It's a fine line. It's easy for us to go out there and judge them. You know what I'm saying? But we don't know either way. I try not to judge. I'll give my opinions and what I think. But it could be either way. Could be. I think Cornette's smart to say, hey, yeah, let's do this. But I think the fans can't. You can't always let the fans judge what you're doing. Just because the fans don't like what you're doing doesn't mean you got to stop doing it. Well, do you agree or do you not agree?
Yes and no. I totally agree with you on that. That you can't let a bunch of the loudest fans that are complaining. You can't change what you're doing because of them. What I'll disagree with though is that their attendance went down. Their interest went down in Ring of Honor, and really they were here in Philadelphia all the time. They never came back. They were playing these smaller cities for a few hundred fans. So obviously something's not working because not only are these fans saying you suck, these same fans that are saying you suck are saying we're not going to go to the shows anymore and we're not buying tickets. And I think there comes a point where you say, okay, I need to slow down this booking, but at the same time, I also need to kind of feed these loyal fans that have been here for a long time too. Like Luke, I'll throw it to you. Like you run Wildcat, okay? Let's say we're talking 2 years down the line now. And your product is red hot, fans are into it, and all of a sudden you get this contract to get in these markets, at like 12 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning. So remember, Luke, I'm not telling you you're getting on like Spike TV at 8 o'clock. I'm telling you you're getting in like Biloxi, Mississippi at like 12 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Are you going to slow down your entire product for those fans, or because if you do that, then you're kind of screwing all these fans that have been loyal to you. So now the fans that you do have are going to be like, well, forget it. I'm done. This isn't the Wildcat that I've been supporting and watching for 2 years. And then you're kind of left with your hands down your pants, so to speak.
Yeah, no, I don't think I would slow down. I mean, I might make some changes, but I wouldn't slow down.
Yeah.
You really can't go backwards.
Yeah, so I agree with you that you can't let loud fans dictate how you're going to book. But at the same time, if you start to see a trend where it's not just these loud fans, you start looking at your attendance figures, and your attendance is down, which means your merchandise is down, which means your iPay-per-views are down. Then I think at some point you got to take a look in the mirror rather than point the finger at the fans.
Wait, I'm sorry. What did you say?
Oh no, I was saying I do agree with you that you can't let fans run your company, but at the same time, I think when you start looking at your figures and your attendance is down and your merchandise
is changes and say what can you do, But sometimes the business is hurting. I mean, I can tell you from our Wildcat shows, we might come off the best show we ever did, and then the next show we have a even better show laid out, and the crowd's half as big.
Yeah.
Absolutely no reason. We did absolutely no different or added. It's just it's weird. There's no rhyme or reason to it. It's weird. You would think, oh man, we just did really, really good. We're coming back. We got a return date. The show was hot. You would expect to grow on the next show, and then, you get half the crowd you got the first time.
Yeah, I hear you. Let me ask you another question, and then we'll get to the plugs. Daniel Bryan. Now, here's a debate that I had on Twitter, I want to say about a week ago, and it just blew up. Like, I mean, I must have gotten 100 tweets out of it. I asked the question out there, is Daniel Bryan over? And I was looking at it from a business point of view. I wasn't looking at it as somebody that turns on Monday Night Raw and sees people cheering for him saying Daniel Bryan's over. I was looking at the ratings. And I was looking at the ratings, and what the ratings were telling me is that when Daniel Bryan was on, people were tuning out, and he was having some of the lowest rated segments of that time slot in months, if not years. And what that was telling me is that why people might enjoy going to shows and chanting yes, yes, yes. And you and I have talked about Daniel Bryan, and we both love him, personally and professionally. I think he's great. But, I see fans chanting yes, 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 but at the same time, the mass audience, they're just not buying it for some reason because they're tuning out when he's on TV.
Now, do you think that's his fault, or do you think it's do you think he's the draw? Do you think he's the draw and he comes on and they change the channel, or do you think it's just a coincidence?
I think it's bookings. I think it's the booking's fault, and it's kind of an easy way out for me to say it's not his fault. It's the booking fault. It's the booker's fault. But I think it is the booker's fault because I think what they did with him was they booked him to be like this comedy goof with talking about the weak link of the team, and he's like a comedy figure out there. And then all of a sudden, one day they pull the switch, and you're supposed to take him seriously as a guy that's tapping out Randy Orton, as a guy that's beating the Shield. And, for people like you and me and fans that have followed him, we're like, yeah, this is great. We always knew that he had it in him. He's good to watch. But to like a kid watching it at home, to like that 11-year-old Luke Hawx watching at home, you're probably thinking to yourself, this guy's a geek. He's been booked like a goof for like the last year and a half. So I think it was just poor preparation from the writers to kind of get him to that point.
Yeah, I mean, I never looked at the ratings or anything. I can only judge my personal standpoint.
Right.
I love it.
Right.
So,
and I do too. I do like watching them. I mean, I really do enjoy it. But
yes, it's hard. It's hard to judge. All I would say is keep on pushing them, man. At least give them the chance. Give them 6 months to run with the ball.
Yeah.
Give them at least 3 or 4 months to run with the ball and see what happens.
Yeah. What I would do, and I put this on Twitter as part of my argument, is I don't think he's over now, but what I would do is I would have him be completely serious, and I would just have him start tapping everybody out for the next 6 months before he wrestled John Cena. And by that point, people would see him as a serious dude, as a threat, as the real deal. But I think it's going to take time. I think there's a little repackaging that needs to be done there.
Right. I mean, it can be done.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look at Kurt Angle. He was a goof for a while. Remember, he used to put on the cowboy hats and with the toy guns, and then all of a sudden one day he was tapping everybody out. Yeah, but Kurt Angle's also, everybody knows he's Olympic badass. Yeah, it's true. It's true. You're right on that. You're right on that. So you can't, Kurt Angle's a real wrestler, so to speak. Yes. So I want to ask you a question, but I don't want you to answer it now because I want us to get to the plugs. But this way, people are going to have to stay tuned and not tune out in the middle of our plugs because Brett in the chat room has a question. And I don't know if you're familiar with this, but Sunny, you remember Sunny, Tammy Sitch? Yeah, I know her real well. Seen everything she had to offer. Yes, so have I, in person, about 2 feet away. So that's a whole other story. Maybe we'll get to that if we have time permitting. So Sunny is doing a deal now where I think it's $50. I'm not sure what that. I think I saw the amount was $50. You can get in bed with her and take a picture spooning with her at like an upcoming convention. And she's desperate, dog. My question to you, and I don't want you to answer it now because we have to leave some people in suspense, is my question to you is how much money would you pay to spoon with Sunny?
And you don't want me to answer it right now?
Don't want you to answer it right now.
Okay.
What I want you to do is I want you to lay those plugs on me.
Okay. Wildcat Sports on Facebook. Wildcat Sports on Twitter. Luke Hawx 504 on Twitter. I'd say add me on Facebook, but my Facebook's just about maxed out, and I got about 10,000 friend requests that I haven't even got to because I can't. Hit us up, man. Check us out. YouTube, Wildcat Sports and Entertainment. Check us out. And then anything Camel Clutch Blog has to watch, check out WrestleChat.net. I can't even talk tonight, dude. I'm just having an off night tonight.
That's all right. Me too.
I'm going crazy. I think you screwed me all up with this with these podcast malfunctions.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
I'm gonna need you to fix this. I can't be dealing with this unprofessionalism. If not, I'm gonna take my act over to one of these cheesy shows that I'm not even gonna talk bad about nobody else. Let me quit.
So that's it. You're gonna be wrestling Matt Hardy when the end of August, right?
End of August, August 24th. I will be beating the hell out of Matt Hardy. There won't be much wrestling going on, but there will be some hell beating.
So, are there any plans, and I don't want you to reveal too much of your booking here in Wildcat, but are there any plans maybe for a mixed tag with you and your baby against Reby and Matt?
Well, the deal is, I don't really have no booking in Wildcat. It's all legit. The best man wins.
Okay.
So it's a shoot fight.
So then I'm taking the baby.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. He's not a baby, though, dude. He's like 14 going on 15. He's 6'1".
No, not him. I meant your baby.
Oh, the baby?
The baby. I don't mean him. I mean the baby.
We could do a mixed tag match, yeah.
Yeah. I know he can handle himself.
To pass all our blood work first.
I know he can handle himself. I mean, the little guy.
Yeah. We might have to do that down the line. And
you're actually going to be heading over to the United Kingdom, aren't you?
Yes, October. I'm heading over for WAW, man, which I'm really excited for. It's going to be a tour. Ricky Knight, who's been a long-time wrestler and promoter over there, it's his retirement show. He's retiring after 30 years with you're probably familiar with Zebra Kid.
I've heard of him.
Huh?
I've heard of him, yeah.
Yeah. He was in, he was a big timer in England. He's probably one of the breakout guys that should have got hired and had jobs, but Roy, his name's Roy. He's a good friend of mine, and Roy used to get in a little trouble and get in a lot of fights back in the day, so he went to jail for a little bit when he should have been headlining wrestling shows. When the Johnny Storms and those guys and the Nigels and those guys were all blowing up, Roy was serving a little time. But he's got his head on straight, and he's never been a bad guy. He just liked to fight a lot, So he used to go out and go drinking and get in some fights, and he really stepped up. He's changed a lot, and now he's back wrestling again full time, and he's doing really well. So I've been friends with him for a long time. So they asked me to come over for the retirement show, and it was an honor, man, because this is the second time I've been asked to be on a retirement show. The first was Jerry Lynn. So when Jerry called me and told me he wouldn't do his retirement show without me, it's nice to have your friends, want you to be a part of something that's so special to them. Yeah. It's really, I can't really think of a much bigger honor than that. Yeah, it's cool, man, because they got all these guys, that they could pick, and they choose to call a guy like me. So it means a lot. Yeah, I think that's awesome. I've never been to the UK. Have you ever been to the UK? No, this would be my first time, man. So that's great. I'll throw a couple plugs out there. CamelClutchBlog.com, CamelClutchBlog.com for all the latest wrestling blogs and UFC blogs and news and that kind of thing. And for those of you listening out there, Money in the Bank, there'll be a lot of Money in the Bank predictions on the blog, and I will have full results up of Money in the Bank right after the show. So sound like me. Yeah, exactly. First day with the new tongue. So CamelClutchBlog.com. And if you missed any of today's show with Luke, you can catch it in a lot of different places. Of course, on ProWrestlingRadio.com. I'll also have it up on YouTube over at the Camel Clutch Blog channel. Just type in Camel Clutch Blog and you'll find the channel over there. And on iTunes. You can get it on iTunes. You get all the podcasts and all the old ones, the classics. The classics with Shane Douglas and Matt Hardy. You can find them on iTunes. They've all been here, Luke. They've all been on Pro Wrestling Radio. Oh, my God. We're going to have some guests on soon. I got a couple guests in mind that I want to bring on. All right. We'll have to talk about that. We'll talk about that. We got to get the technical glitches out of the way first. Yeah, we got to fix that. But I got some good guests we want to have on. I talked to Matt Stryker yesterday, your buddy. Matt Stryker, wow. I mean,
I haven't seen Matt Striker since we worked together in MLW. And I mean, I didn't really know him well. I mean, other than like hello and that was it. But yeah, I worked with him. He was Party Boy something in MLW.
I know you're a big fan of his work and his commentating. So.
Oh yeah, it's phenomenal.
We'll have to get Matt on.
Yeah. You like Matt Striker?
I love him, man. I think he's awesome. I think he's a very talented guy. I really do. I think he's a great host for TV shows, and I really see him. Like Eric Young's got this show on Animal Planet. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
No.
Yeah. Well, Eric Young has he hosts a show on Animal Planet. It's like a fishing show.
Okay.
I can totally see Matt Striker doing that 1,000 times better than it. Not to take away from Eric. I see Matt as the host of a television show. Yeah. So I thought he did a phenomenal job with it in WWE, and I see him as a host. You know, not against his wrestling, but I think he's surpassed that now, and I think he does a good job hosting. I think that's where his niche is.
Hey, listen, my plan, if I ever had the opportunity back in the day to go to the WWE, was all I wanted to do was go there for 2-3 years, get my name out there, and then start making money in other places. So I hope he can do the same thing. Yeah,
I think he will. I mean, the guy's got a lot of talent. So, and if he, I was shocked that he got released. We talked about this, so. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was shocked that he got released, but it happened. And but Striker's a good guy, and he made a good name for himself. So I don't think he'll have any trouble finding work or anything.
Yeah, he always had a good reputation on the Indies when I worked on shows with him.
Yeah, he's a nice guy. So he's you know what I admire the most about Striker?
What?
Is that he was always a non-BS guy.
Mm.
If he didn't like something about you, he would tell you.
Yeah.
If he said, hey. It doesn't mean he was right, but at least he was honest.
Yeah.
And you don't find that in the business nowadays. Like I told you about that before. I told you, if you have a bad match, and guys come up to you and they go, "Oh yeah, good job." I don't want to hear that. I want to hear what was wrong if I had a bad match. And Matt would be the guy to come and go, "Oh man, well you really started messing up right here. You should have changed." So, and most people can't handle that because most people don't want to hear, "Oh, I messed up." Most people can't handle messing up, but a perfectionist and somebody who wants to get better is gonna want the truth.
Yeah. Speaking of these guys on the Indies, my last question I'll ask you, and then we'll go back to the Sunny topic, and then we'll close out the show. Is Low-Ki. There was a recent report that came out that Low-Ki is pretty much retired, other than making a couple appearances here and there, and there were some that say that the reason that this is because he's burnt every bridge in the business that he's ever had, and that he's just having a hard time finding work. But apparently he's doing voiceover work, and he's telling people he's pretty much retired. Personally, I've worked several independent shows with him, and the dude was cool as hell, super nice guy, went out of his way one show to shake my hand. So I don't have a bad thing to say about him, although I've heard a million stories from guys that do.
I think he's a douchebag.
Okay.
So I never liked him. I always hated the one thing I always hated about Low-Ki, and this is one thing is that one thing I always hated about Low-Ki was that he was the kind of guy that had this reputation. Everybody, look how badass he is. Watch how hard he kicks this guy in the face. And I'm going, okay, where's the talent? My kid can kick somebody in the face as hard as he can. Has his face wide open to you. Where's the talent?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying the guy's not talented, but I'm saying his style took no talent. Oh, he's a strong style. He's a Japanese style. He can look how hard he's hitting these guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
I always found that funny. I always found that funny too when you'd have guys that would take liberties with other guys in the ring, and they would get this reputation for being tough. And it was always funny to me because it's like, yeah, you're being tough because the guy's standing there giving you his chin, and you just happen to punch him harder in the face than you probably should.
Yeah, and that's not being tough. Being tough is getting your ass kicked and coming back from it. So, and he was just known for hitting people.
Right.
So I'm like, that's not a tough guy. And I would always say, please somebody book me against Low-Ki, because if he hits me, I'm going to knock this motherfucker into next week, and he probably won't wrestle again.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so, I'm about to go into my bank account and book the match.
Let's do it.
Yes.
Let's do it.
All right.
So, and then I had an incident with him. I had a little run-in with him in Jersey All-Pro once. I worked up there. I went up there to the show. Homicide invited me to the show.
I think you told me this story before, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so Homicide invited me to the show, so I went up with Feinstein and Homicide and them. And when I first moved to Philly, and he said, bring your gear in case you work or whatever. So I was like, okay, cool. So I bring my stuff, and I didn't know anything about Jersey All Pro. I didn't really know too many of the guys. I knew the names. I knew the internet guys. I knew the guys who worked with CZW. I knew, what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I didn't know some of the local boys and stuff. And so I came in, and we go to the locker room, and I'm hanging out. Well, all of a sudden, about 5 minutes before the show starts, it might have been Fat Frank, it might have been somebody else, but they came up to me and said, hey, we're going to squeeze you in the card tonight. You're going to have a 3-way match with these 2 guys. And one of them was one of the Special K guys, I think, from Ring of Honor. I didn't know who he was. Okay. But it was a little small guy. And then the other one, I couldn't tell you who he was neither. It might have been the Grim Reaper or somebody. I don't remember. So it was like 5 minutes. So I barely had time to get dressed. Well, this kid comes over to me, like the little high flyer dude, and he starts going, okay, we're going to do this. Don't introduce himself. Don't do anything. Just comes over and just starts calling a match to me, telling me what he's going to do and calling like a million spots. And, I'm not a spot guy.
Yeah.
So I'm a wrestler. So I'm like, and when you got 5 minutes to just get dressed, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's no way you're not going to choreograph a match. I'm not a fan of choreographing matches anyway. I like to go out there and wrestle.
Yeah.
So I kept telling him, I was like, dude, I don't get what you're saying. Like, we're not doing that. So I was adamant about I wasn't going to do that.
Yeah.
So we get in the ring, and the kid starts doing all this stuff and like starts messing up. So then he gets pissed and he hits me because he's getting pissed because he's messing up.
Okay.
So then, dude, I just grabbed, like, it happened like 2 or 3 times, and he tried to like stiff me like 2 or 3 times, and it was like a kid.
Yeah.
So I just hauled off and I slapped the shit out of him. I slapped the taste out of his mouth, dude. And then he got pissed. He went and hurried up and pinned the other guy real quick and just told the guy to finish the match. And he pinned the other guy and then rolled it out to the back. Then he got in the back. He started throwing a fit. So I went after him when I got in the back. So then Loki came over there, talking all big and bad. Hey, what's going on here? Oh, blah, 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 And I was like, who the fuck are you talking to?
Yeah.
And then like when I manned up on him, he kind of backed away. But it was like, I'm like, who the fuck are you talking to, dude? You don't even know the situation. You don't know what's going on. Don't come over here, talking big shit, telling me to calm, trying to calm me down. Like, you don't even know the situation. Like, I ain't getting punked. I ain't no punk. So
yeah.
And that was it. That was the last incident. But once he felt like hey, this dude might have mean business. You know what I'm saying? He kind of backed away. So
Right. Ah, interesting. All right, Luke. So we are at the end of our show here. We've went well over an hour, which is very cool, and I have tons more that we can talk about. But I got to get out of here. You got to
get out of here too. I got a big audition for Eastbound and Down.
Oh, I love that show. I'm excited. The show's coming back. I didn't even know it was coming back.
Yeah, it's coming back, and hopefully I book this role. I'm not saying I'm gonna. I don't know. There's probably a million people auditioning for it, but and it's a reoccurring role, so it's an acting role. So I'm really hoping I get lucky and get this role.
Ah, dude, that'd be awesome. I'm pulling for you, and I'm sure everybody out there is pulling for you. But what we're really pulling for is to find out how much money you would pay to get in bed and spoon with Sonny.
I like how you set that up, by the way.
Yes.
I wouldn't pay a shit.
Wow.
I'm Luke Hawx. She'd have to pay me.
Wow, it's interesting.
She used to come after me back in the day, back in the XPW days and stuff. But I was never a Sonny fan. I'm not, me. I'm not a fan of blondes and white women.
Yes,
it's never been my type. So
it's well documented.
Yeah, very, very well documented. Yes. And only blonde that I really liked from back then that I really wanted a piece of was Terry Reynolds, and I wouldn't touch her with a 10-foot pole and have a New Jack spin all on it.
Oof.
But
yeah, I actually when I was working with Rob Feinstein, I went down there. He was shooting this Wrestling Vixens where she was doing this like I don't want to say
Missy Hyatt. I remember. Yeah,
it wasn't porn, but they were just doing like naked stuff, and I was down there filming it. And I was standing 3 feet away from her cooch, and I was being paid in a sense spoon with Sonny because I was being paid to be there, and it was quite an experience. Let me tell you, she certainly wasn't looking like the Sonny that most of us remember.
No, did it smell bad?
Hey, listen, I got paid well.
I'm just asking, did it smell bad?
You know, I actually felt bad for her because I mean, she was just at the time she was just so messed up, and
she's always been a mess. She's like off the deep edge. I mean, it's sad because I used to love Chris. So
yeah, me too. I used to like him a lot.
And I think like she was the downfall of Chris.
Yeah, it's a rough one. I mean, I think it's like one of those deals where. I mean, listen, you know, I don't know them, you know, outside of the shows and stuff, but just some people just aren't good for each other. You watch these shows about addiction and stuff, and just some people just aren't good for each other, and maybe they just, you know, weren't good.
Yeah, I agree. I just think, you know, and Chris was with her no matter what. So,
he was there that day. He was there.
Man, it was just I mean, you hear all the stories about her, you know, and like they were together all that time, and the stuff like, you know, the stuff with her and Brett, and the stuff with her and Sean, and you know, it's like, man, how can this guy just put up with this, you know?
I mean, I'm sure you have too. I've heard some crazy stories about her. I mean, which I'm not gonna reveal here because I don't want to get
in an argument one time. We were in a parking lot in L.A. and she wanted to go get some stuff. And he was like, we only have like $10 left on the debit card and we needed to eat. And she's like, no, I don't care. We don't need to eat. I want the stuff. Get the money out and get, you know, like, and like here Chris is going like, no, we need to eat. And like she was just down his throat on getting some stuff.
Wow. I mean, in recent years, it always seemed like eating was a priority with her. So I'm kind of surprised. And on that note.
Yeah.
Yes. And on that note, well, Luke, I want to thank you as always for joining the show. We straightened it out after a rocky start. We got the crowd back, and we covered everything. It was really great to talk to you again, and we'll be back in about 2 weeks to do it all over again.
And we'll do better. We'll come back better and stronger next time.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, again, I want to thank you, and again, follow Wildcat Sports, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Yes, sir. Y'all peace out. Thanks for coming.